Your grocery bill went up again this month, and it's going to go up again next month too. Nobody in Washington is coming to fix that for you, but here's what they aren't telling you. Millions of Americans are quietly growing their own fruit in pots, on porches, and on balconies. They're slashing their grocery bills by hundreds of dollars every single year, doing exactly this. No yard, no garden bed, no special skills, just the right trees and the right containers. Today we're covering 13 of them, and tree number 4 is one nursery's hope you never find. Tree 13 is pomegranate, practically impossible to kill, and I mean that seriously. Look for dwarf varieties like Nana or State Fair, staying under 4 feet tall in a pot. They fit comfortably in a 15 to 20 gallon container without any real fuss involved. Here's something most gardening content never mentions. Pomegranates have a naturally compact root system. Unlike most fruit trees that fight a container, pomegranate actually fruits faster when confined. The restricted space signals the tree to focus energy on fruit instead of spreading roots outward. One established container pomegranate produces 15 to 30 fruits per season reliably. At $3 to $4 each in stores, that's $45 to $120 of fruit yearly. Once established, it's genuinely drought-tolerant, forgiving missed waterings during a dry July. Store pomegranates get harvested before peak ripeness to survive shipping, but yours ripens on the branch. The color runs deeper, the flavor richer, and the seeds juicier than anything from a store shelf. In zones 7 through 11, it lives outside year-round without any real intervention needed. In colder zones, bring it inside before the first hard frost, and a sunny window carries it through. Tree 12 is the fig, and most fruit trees merely tolerate containers, but figs genuinely prefer them. Restricting root space slightly signals the tree to pour energy into fruit production instead. Look for Petite Negra, Brown Turkey, or Chicago Hardy if you're anywhere in the Midwest or Northeast. Chicago Hardy specifically survives temperatures that would kill most other fig varieties outright. People in Zone 5 and 6 grow container figs by moving them into an unheated garage for winter. A mature container fig produces 75 to 150 figs per season at its peak. At farmers market prices of $6 to $9 a half pint, that's $80 to $200 yearly. During ripening, slightly reduce watering to concentrate natural sugars, making the fruit taste like honey. Figs also fruit on new growth, so even a hard winter that kills top growth still gives you fruit that year. Tree 11 is the dwarf peach, and every peach in a grocery store was picked before it was actually ripe. It's picked early specifically to survive shipping, not because it tastes better that way at all. Look for Bonanza, Pix Z, or El Dorado, all bred specifically for container life and self-pollinating. They stay 5 to 6 feet tall and produce full-sized peaches, not miniature or decorative fruit. A mature dwarf peach in a container gives 20 to 50 peaches per season once established. At current organic prices, that's $60 to $120 in direct grocery savings yearly. Here's the technique most people skip. Thin out half the baby fruits when they first form on branches. The remaining peaches get double the nutrients and sugar, growing larger and genuinely sweeter. Dwarf peaches perform well in zones 5 through 9, covering most of the continental United States. With a container, a frost warning just means rolling the tree into the garage in 10 minutes flat. Tree 10 is the blueberry bush, one of the most expensive fruits per pound in American grocery stores. They need a soil pH between 4.5 and 5.5, quite different from regular potting mix. In a container, you control that soil completely using a dedicated azalea and rhododendron mix instead. Look for Top Hat for smaller spaces, Peach Sorbet for heavier production, or Jelly Bean for ornamental appeal. Different varieties cover zones 3 through 10, suiting nearly every American growing region. One mature container blueberry gives 3 to 5 pounds of berries per season once established. At $5 to $7 a pound organic, 3 plants produce $45 to $105 yearly. Blueberry plants also live for decades, making this a genuine long-term food source, not a one-season deal. In fall, the foliage turns deep, vivid crimson red, ornamental and edible at the same time. Tree 9 is the dwarf cherry, consistently one of the highest-priced fruits in the American market. The real reason to grow it in a container comes down to one word: birds, which devastate in-ground trees. A cherry tree in a container lets you throw bird netting over it in under 10 minutes flat. Look for Romeo Juliet or Carmine Jewel, tart cherry varieties hardy across zones 3 through 8. One mature container cherry tree produces 10 to 20 pounds of fruit per season reliably. At $10 a pound average, that's $100 to $200 worth of cherries yearly. Tart cherries also have significantly higher antioxidant levels than sweet cherries, studied for inflammation. Every spring, the tree covers itself in clouds of white and pink blossoms before fruit even appears. Tree 8 is the Meyer lemon, and unlike everything else on this list, it doesn't follow a season at all. It's ever-bearing, meaning a healthy tree carries flowers, developing fruit and ripe lemons simultaneously. Look specifically for the improved Meyer lemon variety, which is virus-free unlike the original. A 10 to 15 gallon pot handles this tree well, living outside year-round in zones 9 through 11. In zones 6 through 8, grow it outside from spring through fall and bring it in for winter light. One established tree produces 50 to 200 lemons yearly, worth $50 to $200 in savings. You don't need expensive citrus fertilizer, just a balanced, slow-release formula with monthly Epsom salt. When this tree blooms repeatedly through the year, the fragrance fills an entire porch or patio for free. Tree 7 is the kumquat, quietly one of the most productive and cold-tolerant trees on this entire list. You eat the whole fruit, skin and all, and surprisingly, the skin is sweet while the flesh is tart. Look for Nagami or Meiwa varieties, both self-pollinating and performing exceptionally well in containers. A 10 to 15 gallon pot works well, with kumquats living outdoors year-round in zones 8 through 11. They're the most cold-tolerant citrus in existence, handling brief dips down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. That means Zone 7 gardeners across the mid-Atlantic and south can grow them with minimal protection. A mature container kumquat produces hundreds of fruits, worth $150 to $300. When this tree blooms heavily, your entire porch smells like a citrus grove for weeks at a time. Tree 6 is the columnar apple, growing straight up 8 to 10 feet tall but only 2 feet wide. It produces fruiting spurs directly off the trunk, carrying full-sized apples from a tiny footprint. Look for North Pole, Scarlet Sentinel, or Golden Sentinel, performing well across zones 4 through 8. A 15 to 20 gallon container gives this tree enough room to establish and produce reliably. You can fit 3 or 4 different varieties on a single balcony, staggering ripening across 3 months. Each tree produces 15 to 30 full-sized apples per season, worth real money at organic prices. Properly stored apples last months too, so your harvest can carry you well into winter. The compact size also means catching pest problems early, before they ever get a chance to spread. Tree 5 is the dwarf mulberry, one of the fastest fruiting trees available to home growers anywhere. Some container mulberry trees begin producing in their very first or second year after planting. Look for dwarf everbearing or Illinois everbearing, both cold-hardy and suited for container growing. Illinois everbearing performs well across zones 5 through 10, covering a huge range of American climates. A 20 to 25 gallon container gives this tree the root space it needs to produce heavily. Fresh mulberries almost never appear in grocery stores since the fruit is too delicate to ship commercially. At farmers markets, when available, they sell for $8 to $12 a pint due to limited supply. Birds love mulberries even more than cherries, but container netting solves that problem in minutes. Tree 4 is the dwarf avocado, the one teased at the start, and the one nurseries hope you never discover. Avocados run $5 to $8 each in stores, and that price genuinely isn't coming down anytime soon. Look specifically for the Wurtz variety, also called Little Cato, the only true dwarf widely available. It stays 8 to 10 feet tall, is self-pollinating, and needs a 20 to 25 gallon container. It grows outdoors year-round in zones 9 through 11, or seasonally with winter indoor protection. This tree takes 3 to 4 years before fruiting significantly, so patience is genuinely required here. Once it fruits, 20 to 40 avocados yearly at $6 each means real money coming back. Over 20 years, that's a conservative lifetime value running into the thousands of dollars from one pot. Mix 30% perlite into the potting soil, since avocado roots suffocate fast in waterlogged soil. Tree 3 is the everbearing strawberry tower. And yes, strawberries technically aren't trees at all. From late spring through first frost, a properly set up tower produces fruit daily at peak season. Look for Seascape, Albion or Ozark Beauty, ever-bearing varieties proven across zones 3 through 10. A vertical tower fits 20 to 30 plants in the footprint of just 2 square feet of porch space. At peak season, that tower produces several pounds of berries weekly, worth real grocery savings. A full season's harvest can be worth $150 to $300 from a setup under $40. Strawberry runners produce new baby plants, letting the tower essentially replenish itself for free. Tree 2 is the dwarf banana, often mistaken for purely decorative when it's actually genuinely productive. Look for dwarf Cavendish or super dwarf Cavendish, staying 4 to 6 feet tall in a container. It produces the same Cavendish banana sold commercially, not some exotic or wild variety at all. A 20 to 25 gallon container suits this heavy feeder, needing rich, consistently moist soil. It grows outdoors year-round in zones 9 through 11, or seasonally elsewhere with winter protection. First harvest typically arrives within 18 months to 2 years, then arrives all at once dramatically. A single mature bunch can weigh 20 to 40 pounds, representing real savings at grocery store prices. After fruiting, the plant sends up new shoots called pups, each becoming its own fruiting plant for free. Tree 1 is the dwarf olive, specifically the Arbequina variety, earning the very top spot on this list. It's self-pollinating, stays compact enough for a 15 to 20 gallon container, and produces heavily. It lives outdoors year-round in zones 8 through 11, needing winter cold and colder zones to fruit properly. Olive trees live for centuries, not decades, meaning the tree you plant could genuinely outlive you. A mature container olive produces 10 to 20 pounds of olives per season at real market value. The drought tolerance here is extraordinary, since overwatering damages it far more than dryness ever does. Fresh olives off the tree are bitter and inedible until cured, either through water curing or brine curing. Both curing methods are simple and cost nothing but a few weeks of time to produce genuinely good olives. The silvery foliage stays beautiful year-round too, never dropping leaves or going through an ugly dormancy. Now here are 3 mistakes responsible for most failed container fruit trees across the country. Mistake 1 is black plastic pots in full sun where soil temperatures can exceed 130 degrees. Fruit tree roots begin dying at those temperatures, and the damage stays invisible until decline sets in. Switch to light-colored containers, fabric grow bags, or terracotta to avoid this silent damage entirely. Mistake 2 is salt buildup from tap water, which contains dissolved minerals that accumulate over time. That buildup mimics nutrient deficiency, leading most people to add more fertilizer, making things worse. Every 4 to 6 months, flush containers thoroughly until water runs freely from the drainage holes. Mistake 3 is fertilizing a stressed tree, which actually accelerates decline instead of reversing it. A tree under heat, drought, or transplant stress simply can't process fertilizer without further damage. Only fertilize when the tree is actively growing, visibly healthy, and producing genuine new growth. That's 13 fruit trees and 3 critical mistakes, more practical information than most channels offer. If you've made it this far, you're genuinely serious about growing your own food and cutting costs. This channel puts out content every single week built around exactly that goal for real home growers. No fluff, no products to sell, just honest, practical information from someone who actually grows this way. Subscribe if you haven't already, since the next video is already coming and you shouldn't miss it. Drop a comment telling us which tree you're starting with and what state you're gardening in. Every comment helps build a real picture of where this community is growing food across the country. Now go get a container, go get a tree, and start growing something that genuinely pays you back.